Getting around in any game is a pretty big deal, and Final Fantasy is no exception, with vast worlds to traverse and roadblocks like oceans and mountains stopping you from getting from A to B. Getting by on foot just doesn't cut it. Whether it's by wild beast or the latest and greatest invention guiding us on, there's plenty of services out there with better value than local Uber prices. I'm Jack from EXP Required, so join me today as we discuss 7 of the best methods of transportation in Final Fantasy. Beware of spoilers for the following games. We're starting off strong with one of the most common vessels in the series. Behold, the airship! Often a late or end-game acquisition, and around since the very first installment. Here we're looking specifically at FF3, which bucks the trend by giving you one almost right out of the gate. It's too good to be true, of course. While Cid's craft is fit for purpose, it's unable to pass the mountains that surround the starting area of no matter how high it looks like it's flying. The only way to progress is by crashing into a rock that otherwise blocks our path, which naturally destroys the airship for good. Sorry about that, Cid. Several hours and another wrecked airship later, we're given access to the world's most luxurious flying machine. Guess they didn't check how many points we have on our license, eh? The Invincible was built by the Ancients, an advanced civilization responsible for the Flood of Light, who left it behind when they fled. Not content with being the best vessel around, it's also the first airship the party has control over and lets you see inside. With beds that allow you to rest for free, and stores with high-level weapons and magics, the Invincible certainly feels like a dream vehicle. It's a pity we have to leave it running when we disembark. The Light Warriors clearly aren't environmentally conscious. What does it even run on? Giant Chocobo droppings? One of 3 elite training academies in the world, FF8's Balam Garden might seem an odd choice to include on a list of vehicles for the uninitiated. Our land-based stomping ground stays put until almost halfway through the game, when missiles are shot its way. Though we return with the intention of evacuating the student body, there's more pressing matters at hand. With no one willing to listen to sense, we make our way to the headmaster, who promptly tells us not to worry, as the academy is actually a mobile facility. Come on man, what else are you hiding? Though Garden has been bright and welcoming until now, its underbelly is rusting and dangerous, seeing us fight oil-slick monsters and unmaintained ladders as we race to get to the control panel. Unsurprisingly, we get there right in the nick of time, and Garden glides away from otherwise certain destruction unscathed to become our new main vehicle. Much like the Invincible before it, we can still enter the academy whenever we want to. Seeing technology advance from a large room that houses 4 to a small city carrying a whole community is heartwarming to say the least, and a nice representation of our newfound responsibilities. Now, if only we knew where the brakes were. Even if you've never played a Final Fantasy game in your life, chances are you'll still recognise the humble Chocobo. Part of our lives since 1988's Final Fantasy II, and this is the only time we're glad Amano's artwork didn't make the cut, every game since then has featured them at least once, whether that be story significant or as part of a side quest. Whatever the case may be, these feathered friends have their uses beyond being cute. Often leading us towards rare or ultimate treasures, players have to invest some serious time into their birds in order to tick off those bragging rights. Riding to locate and repair FF9's Mognet Central? Check. Breeding the elusive gold Chocobo with the best stats of course in FF7? Check. Nabbing a ribbon in FF8's Chocobo World minigame? And as if we didn't love them enough, some titles give the party their own personal steeds to adore. FF16's Ambrosia saves her master Clive's life during the introduction. Time spent nursing the Angel of Valhalla back to life in Lightning Returns is well rewarded, and who could forget FF5's Boko, Art's his best friend and the first to stay put when dismounted. His companionship set the scene for avian sidekicks for years to come. Just remember that not all Chocobos are friendly. Yellow might be mellow, but red will make you dead. Another vehicle mistaken for a perfectly innocent location. Figaro Castle is the backdrop for our first introduction to FF6's villain, Kefka. An ally of the Empire on the surface, Edgar's second proper act is to refuse to hand Terra over. Rather than allow the castle to burn, the king reveals himself as an engineering genius. The castle has been modified to sink below the sand, while he, Terra, and Locke make a memorable escape on Birdback. The disappearing act is impressive enough, but it's more complex than just that. The structure can tunnel all the way under the mountains to the other side of the continent. Guess planning permission isn't a problem when you're a king. The only downside is the castle only having 2 locations to travel to, making it wildly inefficient compared to other methods of transport. It does, however, lead to an exciting optional area later in the game. During the World of Ruin, the castle's movement is impeded by another ancient structure buried beneath the surface. Hopping off and exploring the caves leads us to the aptly named Ancient Castle, an area filled with high-level monsters and a legendary Esper whose history mirrors Terra's parents. Talk about a light at the end of the tunnel. Final Fantasy XV starts you off with practically nothing. No money, no map, and only a handful of items. And despite the beautiful introduction to the world and characters, your main method of transportation is taken out of commission before you're even given control. Once the king's personal ride, the regalia now belongs to Noctis and crew. Never mind their status as fugitives, these boys ride in style. Sleek and stylish, the regalia comes into its own late at night. There's no restrictions to travelling on foot, but once the sun sets you'll find yourself at the behest of demons, some at eye-wateringly high levels. Ignis warns us to stay off the roads for our own safety until level 30, when he gives up trying to stop us from ramming iron giants. Completing Cindy's side quests eventually leads to being able to upgrade the car beyond paint jobs. The Type D lets us go off-road, and the post-game Type F lets us soar, though maybe not smoothly. Best of all, the enhanced headlights stop demons from spawning at night, perfect for all those nighttime rides. Of course, while we're driving around, we're occasionally treated to exposition. It can be tempting to throw on some tunes and switch off, but it's best to pay attention to anything the boys say while travelling, lest you miss some vital context to whatever's happening in the plot. More importantly, I could have sworn we all saw Noctis in another car at some point. Did you know that 10 years ago, Jecht stood on that spot and he attacked the Shoepuff? Time to talk about the elephant in the room. Well, the Shoepuff in the river anyway. These gentle giants are indigenous to FF10's Moonflow River, which separates the northern and southern halves of Spira, and must be traversed to reach Macalania. The only way to cross the river is on the back of one of these strange creatures. As we all know, the use of Machina is prohibited by the Church of Yevon, meaning airships are off limits for us God-fearing guardians. Well, until later anyway. The crossing gives us yet another opportunity to learn about the evils of these powerful machines. An ancient city sits beneath the waves, one of many cities that fell to ruin after Sin appeared. We're not unsympathetic to a more peaceful way of life, but as Tidus points out, it's not as though the world has abandoned using Machina entirely. It doesn't escape our notice that a complete resistance to technological improvement might not grant the safety the party has promised, even with the Church's generosity and protection. The Albed's attempt to kidnap Yuna would have succeeded if we didn't have Blitzballers on our side, but the final addition to the group hints that their efforts aren't entirely evil. Though only a small segment of the game, the Shoepuff nonetheless hold a special place in our hearts for balancing the world's bizarre nature with the story's somber themes. Now if everybody is okay, we'll continue with the next entry. Of all the strange races that make up the quirky world of FF9, one of the weirdest by far are the Gargants, giant insects that spend their lives crawling around the roots of the world-spanning Ifa tree. By the time we've boarded the Gargant, we've already been on more technologically advanced contraptions, and getting back to basics in this somewhat antiquated world might not seem the most impressive. But we think it's worth seeing the world from a different angle for a change. Despite the two groups we see being found on different continents, these creatures are happy to give us a lift so long as we have their favourite snack on hand. Completely docile despite their outward appearance, they left an impression on us, and seeing them be used for both the working class and the nobility really hammered home the idea that everyone is the same no matter their background. Garnet truly exemplifies this idea when she first sees a Gargant. The recent atrocities of the Queen weigh heavily on her mind as she works with well-meaning criminals. She boards the carriage unflinchingly, a far cry from the young lady who didn't want to share a room with strangers only a few days ago. Now if only Alexandria could do something about their snake problem, maybe we could take the bug bus more often. So that was our list of 7 great methods of transport in Final Fantasy. We know there are a lot more, so let us know your favourites in the comments. If you'd like to hear more Final Fantasy discussion, we also have a podcast linked below. Thanks for watching and see you next time!